4 states are turning carry permits into paper shields, and most gun owners will not realize it until they are standing in the wrong place at the worst time. If you think your permit still protects you the way it did a few years ago, this video may hit you like a truck. Pause. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed? Because what I'm about to reveal could save you from life-changing legal trouble. Hit that button right now because laws move fast and silence is expensive. Here's what just happened. A lot of people hear the words concealed carry permit and think that means protection. They think, I passed the background check, I took the class, I got the card, so I'm covered. But that is not how this works anymore in some states. The permit may still exist, but the places where it actually protects you are getting smaller, more confusing, and harder to track. And that is why this topic matters so much. This is not really about your permit disappearing overnight. It is about your permit meaning less in real life. It is about walking into a place that feels normal, a restaurant, a park, a library, a store, a church, a parking lot, and suddenly finding out the law sees that spot very differently than you do. First thing you need to understand is this. There are 2 separate questions now. Number 1, can you legally get a permit? Number 2, where can you legally carry once you have it? Most people focus on the first question. The states I'm talking about today are changing the second one, and that is where people get burned. Let me break this down for you in plain English. A permit is not a magic pass. It does not erase state rules about what lawyers call sensitive places. That just means places the state says are too restricted for carry. Schools are the obvious example. Courthouses too. Most people understand that. But now the fight has moved way past those places. We are talking about parks, restaurants that serve alcohol, libraries, private property open to the public, healthcare facilities, museums, zoos, transit hubs, and more. And here's the part nobody's talking about. A lot of these laws are moving through courts right now. That means 1 month a rule may be blocked, then later it may be enforced, then months later it may change again. If you rely on an old screenshot, a stale reciprocity map, or something your buddy told you at the range, you can end up making a very expensive mistake. So when I say 4 states are ending carry permit protections this year, I want to be precise. In some of these states, the permit is still there. What is shrinking is the safe zone around it, the practical protection, the everyday confidence that if you have your permit, you are probably okay in normal public life. In these 4 states, that confidence is exactly what can get you into trouble. Pause. State number 1 is Hawaii, and this is the one that really got my attention. Hawaii has a law that requires a property owner's express authorization before a permit holder can carry on private property that is open to the public. In simple terms, if a business is private property, and almost all businesses are, silence may not help you. If the owner did not clearly say yes, the state's position is basically no. Think about what that means for your daily life. Most people do not walk up to a coffee shop owner and ask, "Excuse me, do I have express authorization to carry a handgun in here?" That is not how normal life works, but that is exactly why this issue became such a big fight. The U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments over Hawaii's rule this year, and the justices sounded very focused on whether a state can treat the right to carry like a disfavored right. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The argument was not really about Wild West carry everywhere. It was about a basic question. When a business is open to the public, should the default rule be that a permit holder is allowed unless the owner says no? Or should the default rule be no unless the owner says yes? That one difference can flip the whole map of your legal risk. Here's a hypothetical example to explain this. Imagine you are on vacation. You are licensed. You walk into a retail store. There's no metal detector, no security wand, no sign on the door saying no firearms. Most people would assume they are fine unless told otherwise. In Hawaii's approach, that assumption itself may be the problem. And if you assume wrong, you are now in a criminal case, not just an awkward conversation. But wait, there's something even more important. Hawaii is not alone. Other states looked at the same issue and tried similar moves. That means even if you never plan to visit Hawaii, the legal idea behind Hawaii can still affect you because courts are using these cases to decide what states can do next. State number 2 is California, and this is the part that shocked me. A lot of gun owners think California is just strict in general, so nothing there surprises them anymore. But the details matter. After a Ninth Circuit court ruling, California made more carry restrictions, enforceable for permit holders in additional places. We are talking about bars and restaurants that serve alcohol, playgrounds and youth centers, parks and athletic areas, some state park and wildlife property, casinos, stadiums, public libraries, amusement parks and zoos and museums. Read that list slowly and think about normal life. Dinner with family, your kids' game, a walk in the park, a stop at the library, a day trip, a fair, a museum. This is how permits become weaker without the state saying, "We ended permits." The permit remains, the normal places disappear. And here's what most people get wrong. They hear one court blocked one part of a law, and they assume the whole law is dead. Not true. In California, some restrictions remain blocked right now, including parts involving private property open to the public and a few other categories. But many other sensitive place rules are enforceable, so if your thinking is, I heard the court stop that, you may be working with half a truth. Half a truth is dangerous when handcuffs are involved. Pause. If you're finding this helpful, imagine what you'll learn in my next video about the exact words to say when police ask if you're armed. Subscribe now so you don't miss it, because knowing the rule is good, but knowing how to talk during that moment is even better. Now let's go to state number 3, Maryland, because this one is a perfect example of why headlines confuse people. Maryland has been fighting over carry restrictions since its post-Bruin laws came out. A federal court blocked some parts earlier, and then this year, the Fourth Circuit kept the block on the rule that treated private property open to the public as off-limits by default. So some gun owners heard that and said, great, Maryland backed off. That is not the full story. Let me explain why this matters. Even with that private property piece blocked, a lot of Maryland's sensitive place restrictions still matter. Schools, government locations, and other restricted areas can still create big problems. So the danger in Maryland is not just the law, it is the confusion. People hear one win in court and think the whole field is clear. It is not. Imagine you are driving through Maryland with a valid permit from somewhere else. Or maybe you have Maryland's own permit and you're trying to stay careful. You stop for gas, then food, then a quick errand, then you meet a friend near a public event. At every stop, the question changes, not just, do I have my permit? But what kind of place is this? Is there a rule here? Is this tied to a demonstration? Is this a place with its own restriction? That mental load is where ordinary people make extraordinary mistakes. And that brings me to state number 4, New Jersey. New Jersey's sensitive place law has been one of the biggest battlegrounds in the country. This year, a full federal appeals court heard arguments again over the state's law that bars firearms in 25 sensitive places. The list is long, and that's exactly the problem. Schools, polling places, casinos, zoos, museums, concert venues, theme parks, transit hubs, churches, hospitals, nursing homes, libraries, places where people gather. In New Jersey, the map can start to feel like it is saying no almost everywhere you actually go. Here's the crazy part. In the New Jersey fight, one of the big arguments is whether a state can define sensitive places so broadly that the right to carry exists on paper but barely exists in real life. That is the whole game now. Not whether permits are legal in theory, whether a permit still helps you in the places that matter to actual daily life. Now, quick legal note. This is educational information, not legal advice. Always consult an attorney for your specific situation. I want to say that again in plain English. Do not use this video as your personal legal plan. Use it as your warning siren. Hey, 73% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. Don't be part of that group. Join the gun owners who get these updates first, because by the time a law change reaches the evening news, someone has usually already learned about it the hard way. Click subscribe. Let me give you the bigger picture, because this is where all 4 states connect. Hawaii shows the fight over private property open to the public. California shows how a permit can survive, while more normal locations become off limits. Maryland shows how one court win can hide a bunch of remaining traps. New Jersey shows what happens when a state builds such a long list of restricted places that your permit starts feeling weak almost everywhere outside your car or home. Most people think the danger is carrying without a permit. But the truth is, often the bigger danger is carrying with a permit while misunderstanding location rules. That is how good people end up explaining themselves to police, to prosecutors, and sometimes to a judge. Here's a hypothetical example to explain this. Let's say you are a careful permit holder. You lock your gun properly, you do your training, you check reciprocity before you travel, you're trying to do everything right. Then you go to a restaurant that serves alcohol, but you are not drinking. In one state, that may still be a major problem. Or you cut through a park after parking your car. In one state, that may matter. Or you walk into a museum during a family trip. In one state, your permit may not help you there at all. Same person, same gun, same intent, different state line, completely different risk. And this is why I keep warning people not to trust broad phrases like constitutional carry, permit state, or reciprocity honored. Those phrases are too big. They sound reassuring, but they leave out the one part that can wreck your life, the exact place where your feet are standing. So what should you do right now? First, stop thinking in terms of states only. Think in terms of locations inside states. Second, before you travel, check not just whether your permit is recognized, but where carry is restricted. Third, if a rule is being fought in court, treat it like a live wire. Do not assume the last thing you heard is still true today. Fourth, watch for private property rules. That phrase sounds harmless, but it covers stores, restaurants, and many businesses you enter every week. Fifth, if a place serves alcohol, hosts children, handles government functions, or gathers big crowds, slow down and verify before you go in. Sixth, if you are ever unsure, secure the firearm lawfully and get clarity first. Here's what most people get wrong again. They think signs are the whole issue. Sometimes they are not. In some places, the rule can exist even without the kind of sign people expect. In other places, signs matter a lot. In still other places, the court status matters more than the sign. That is why the old advice, just look for the sticker on the door, is not enough anymore. When I found this out, I couldn't believe how much the fight had shifted from who gets a permit to where a permit means anything. That shift is huge, and most channels are not explaining it clearly. They are yelling about freedom or control, but they are not telling you where the legal trap actually sits. The trap sits in ordinary places, the places you go when you are relaxed, distracted, and least likely to think like a lawyer. Pause. This information could change again before the next major court ruling drops, and that is exactly why you need to subscribe right now. The next video will cover the smart checklist to use before carrying across state lines, so you know what to verify before you ever open that car door. So here is the takeaway. In Hawaii, California, Maryland, and New Jersey, the real fight is not just over permits. It is over whether your permit still protects you in normal public life. And if you miss that difference, you can walk into a legal problem while honestly believing you are doing everything right. Please do me one favor. Subscribe, send this to one friend who carries, and help me get this warning in front of the people who need it before they learn the hard way. Laws change fast, court rulings change faster, and your freedom is too important to gamble on outdated information. And one final simple disclaimer. This video is general educational content. It is not legal advice, it is not a personal opinion letter, and it is not a substitute for a lawyer in your state. Before you carry, especially across state lines, check current law and get real legal guidance for your exact situation.